Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. We caught up with Tim Froud today, CEO at Sokoman Minerals. They're a Newfoundland gold exploration story. A few of those around at the moment, but as a local boy, he believes he knows where the good stuff is, and won't be surprised to hear that he thinks he's got one of them. Some great drill results came out over the past few months. They've also been able to raise a lot of capital to kind of see them through for the next 12 months or so. So we expect more of the same. He says, if you want our thoughts and opinions on the company, the conversation, and indeed the man himself, you can find that at cruxinvestor.com. And if you want to see precisely what we talked about today, take a look in the description below. Tim, how are you, sir?
I'm just fine this morning, Matthew. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm glad you're on the show. We've had a flurry of Newfoundland-based companies recently, so delighted to have you on. You're from that part of the world, though, aren't you?
Actually, believe it or not, I'm sitting in my hometown, which is only 15 minutes drive from our flagship Moosehead property. I mean, it's so funny. You spend your whole geological career chasing these things all over the planet, and here I am back in my own backyard. So, it has come full circle, and it's nice actually to spend some time with family.
Brilliant. Yeah, but I'm thinking you're going to know what the good stuff is. That's what I'm hoping.
Well, I think we got some good stuff. I mean, we've been here now since mid 2018, pulled some pretty good holes, and I hate to think that we started it all. I mean, we're part of it, but we were certainly one of the initial high grade deliverers here in this rapidly emerging central Newfoundland gold belt, right?
Oh boy, people are excited. It's like the circus is in town. There's a lot of people setting up camp, a lot of newbies. You excited about that? Is that good for you?
Oh, for sure. I mean, we've always looked to, Central Canada or the Golden Triangle in BC, got to be nice to have an area play like that sort of thing. Not that area plays per se are the thing. I mean, to actually be delivering results to the market, in addition to having, a lot of interest here, the spotlight is here for a change. And as I mentioned in our talk previously, I mean, this is not something we're used to here. We're used to people coming here for iron ore, nickel, oil, whatever. Gold is a new thing here. And, I always tell people, I think Newfoundland is where Timmins was in 1910, our golden age is just starting.
Beautiful. Okay, well, I'm looking forward to hearing the story. But first, give us that 1 minute overview of the business for people new to this story, including myself, I guess. And I'll pick it up from there with some questions.
Well, we're a Newfoundland-based and focused and almost entirely staffed exploration company. We're a discovery-driven company. We want to make that find and, build that momentum up to, the takeover sort of thing. We won't be miners ourselves. We're explorers. It's what we do best. It's what my whole 30-year career has been basically exploration, and, that's something I think that people need to take away from this is that, we know this area very well. Yes, we were, kind of stagnant, maybe if you want to call that, for a little bit at the outset with just the one project. But, we've been watching what's been happening here in Central, and, we've watched, companies come and, make, their big play and stuff, but now they have to deliver. I mean, we've been delivering for 2 years, and, we've also padded our property portfolio as well. And, with the $15 million treasury right now, we're well financed, to move all of our projects, including our new ones, forward.
Yeah, well, actually, I joked earlier about the circus being in town, and by that I meant that, Newfoundland is the buzzword of the moment. You can sort of see it coming from pre-Christmas to now, but it is good news for people like you who have been cash constrained. It has allowed you to get some cash in the coffers and start doing things that you wanted to be doing a while ago.
Well, I mean, we've always looked at programs in terms of, a 5,000 meter drill program or a 10,000 meter program. Well, phase 6, which is what we're currently in right now, started life in September as a 10,000 meter program. We had $2.5, maybe $3 million in the bank. We kept delivering the results, and we decided, we just got to make this thing bigger, especially with the elephant in the room just to the east of us, with the 200,000 meter program. I mean, that's a program, right? 10,000 meters, 15,000 meters. So we decided to basically, just take the bull by the horns, and, we doubled the program, late last year to 20,000 meters. Earlier this year, we took it to 50,000 meters, and we can even take that beyond that. The only issue we have now is basically logistics in terms of drills and people and personnel. And but you know what? You have to take the good with the bad. It's nice that the spotlight is here in Newfoundland right now, and we're enjoying it. And yes, I do welcome other explorers. I mean, we do want to have multiple discoveries here. We just don't want to be a one project wonder. And so, with our current treasury, our staff, all local people, we know, we know, I think, where we need to put our hammers and our drills.
Okay. I want to come on to that, actually, because that's being a local boy is kind of a bit that interests me. But you raised an interesting point there. It's all well and good being able to get money now, but the cost of everything else has probably gone up. The competition for resources has gone up.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've publicly stated we want 50,000 meters finished by the end of the year with at least 4 drills. We still have just the 2. Now, we have been told by our contractor that a third one is on the way. But again, they're waiting for parts and things, 6, 8, 10 weeks, 12 weeks delays for parts. I mean, it's getting to the point where, you're hobbling together drills, to just to get them on the ground. And then you have to find people to man them. And that's also a challenge. In fact, as I mentioned to you, for a few days or a little while ago, we had 1 shift on our drill, because the night shift quit to go to company B, because of a slightly, higher bonus pay or whatever. So it's getting to that. I mean, it's almost a Wild West, here, but you know what? It's fun. I got to say, it's fun.
Nice problems to have. Very nice problems to have. Let's go back to the beginning. Okay. You're a local boy. We've established that. And you talked about, from 2018, you've been at it for the last 2.5 years. So what did you set out to try and do? And I appreciate it's been a sort of tough 2.5 years, but the last 6 months have really kind of, changed things a lot. So what was it like in 2018 and what were you trying to do?
Well, basically we had a pickup truck and myself and my main field guy. And that was it pretty much. I mean, we didn't even have a field office. So, we've come a long way. So right now we have a full-time staff of 7. Our budget for this year is going to be about 8 million when you look at all of our projects combined. And so we started off pretty small, and you know what, grade is king. And so with our very first hole at Moosehead, we cut 11.9 meters of 45 grams, and then the phone rang, and it kept ringing, and from there we've just been able to just go along for the ride, if you will. But and not just that. I mean, we haven't just lived off one hole. I mean, every phase to date, we've delivered, you can't really use the word in a press release, but I will use it here, bonanza grades. I mean, we're chasing, the gem of the gems in terms of gold deposits, the Fosterville mine in Australia, right? Which, the flagship operation of Kirkland Lake Gold. And, we see many, many similarities to that, as do our neighbors, Newfound Gold. I mean, we're exploring basically the same basin that they are. They just happen to be on the east side of Abathalis, and we're on the west side. And, major structures, again, key here. So, it's been it almost doesn't seem like 2.5 years, but we're still here, and we took the property from a 1 zone property to 5 zones now, and they're all open. I mean, we have a lot of work to do here yet, and that's my mission basically, is to make every one of those zones either bigger or make them all one. Which ultimately you want to do. So,
what's your background in all of this?
I'm a geologist. I was born and raised here and went to school in St. John's. Got my BSc in geology there, and I've worked for several companies over our career. Most geologists do. I started with Inco Limited, and it's been 11 years with them, and then a handful of juniors since then. And I joined this company probably 13 or 14 years ago. I'm not a founder of the company. I'm the longest serving employee of the company, but I'm not a founder. I did come on as VP Exploration, and over time worked my way to the position I am now. I much prefer to be in the field a bit more, but you know what? There's also important jobs to be doing outside of the field, like what I'm doing here with you right now, getting our message out, right? And I love talking this project because I mean it's our bread and butter, and I think it's gone at least 2 or 3 of the hurdles that you want if you want to go to the long end of the term, the race, the end game. But we obviously still have a lot of work to do here.
Right. Okay. So you're an explorer. You're a geologist. Who else is on the team?
Well, I have a VP Exploration who spent probably half of his career, defining the Voisey's Bay deposit in Labrador. And he's also have, quite a bit of experience with gold here in Newfoundland. In fact, one of our new acquisitions called Golden Hope, Daniel Lee is his name. He spent several years down there exploring and developing that resource down there. So, and as well, we have probably some of the best prospectors in Newfoundland, and some of them are actually relatives, part of the clan, if you want to call them the clan, of the Keats Stairs, clan that basically won the Bill Dennis Prospector of the Year award several years ago, and directly responsible for what Newfound has out there. So we're all explorers. I mean, in fact, I broke the first piece of rock that had gold in it at Valentine Lake, which is Marathon's project that will probably be the next mine here in Newfoundland. So we're proven, and we're working in our backyard. We're working very efficiently, very effectively. We probably have the lowest burn rate of any company in the country. All our money goes a long ways here. I mean, our all-in costs pre-COVID, including assaying per meter, was under $130 a meter. Compare that to other jurisdictions where the logistics are more challenging, like West and stuff. But your dollars go a long way here, and as well, we have a very supportive government, and their mission is to put 5 new mines on the map before 2030, and I'm going to help them as much as I can in that goal.
Well, I think the dollar did go a long way. I think we established the prices are probably going to go up a little bit. But talk to me about the homeboy component here, which is you've been around here for about 18 years. You just said, right, involved in this company for about 18 years. Is that what you just said to me?
Pretty close to that. Right. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So in terms of the land packages that you've got, because we've seen so many of these companies just being created, assets being acquired in Newfoundland of recent times, because you could see this coming, 6-9 months ago, and they're going to have picked up what was around. You've been around longer. You've picked up, your projects. Because why? Why did you go for that versus all the other opportunities that you had?
Well, Moosehead was, clearly our focus. And, when you acquire a project like Moosehead, which did have a past prior to our arrival, it had a 20-year history prior to we acquiring the property in 2018, and high grade was identified. And, you just can't let go of that, and our project as well doesn't have any outcrop on it, which is a challenge again. A lot of the projects that you hear about right now are neighbors. In fact, many of their best gold zones were actually exposed, so they had a chance to stand on them and look at them and figure out, well, maybe we need to drill this way, sort of thing. We didn't have that opportunity here. So, our focus and our mission was to, take the Moosehead project and turn it into an asset, not just, a money pit. So, as I mentioned, we acquired this project with just, one really defined zone of mineralization. In 2018, we drilled a hole in what is now our what we call our eastern trend. It's become, our largest zone. It's still open. And, we've watched the others come in. Not to say that I know where all the gold is in Newfoundland by any stretch, but I've been on a lot of that other ground, and some of it is good, and there will be other discoveries made. In fact, I hope there will be, but there's more to Newfoundland than central Newfoundland in terms of gold. I mean, Newfoundland has a very complex geological and structural history that has created multiple opportunities. In fact, from west to east, there's probably 4 or 5 major crustal structures that have gold associated with them. And a lot of people think it's just the one trend, the Newfound trend. I mean, that's not the case. I mean, we sit on a parallel trend to Newfound that also has 2 of Newfoundland's most significant gold prospects on them. Well, not a prospect. I mean, Marathon. Probably 5 million ounces of gold. We sit directly on that trend, right? People seem to forget that. There's 5 million ounces right there, just to the southeast of us, southwest of us. Beyond that, on the same fault, Matador Mining. They're rapidly advancing the Cape Ray project. North of 1 million ounces on that. So 0 ounces on the other side of the hill. With all due respect to their drill results. 6 million plus ounces on the fault that we're on. So where would you rather be? Would you rather follow the sheep, and just say you're tied on to company X, or, so local people, where else, what have people missed here? So another company that I'm very proud to be associated with, Benson Resources, Stephen Stairs, and I got together just recently and said, there are other opportunities here. So, we have to, just not sit by and watch everybody, come in and say they've got the best ground. I mean, we know there are opportunities. So we staked 3 very large projects. In fact, with Moosehead and our recent joint ventures with Benton, we now control. We're not the largest. Everybody says we're the largest landholder in Newfoundland. I don't care about that. All I care about is the quality of the asset. So we now have, north of 150,000, hectares of ground. More than 6,000 claims. It makes us a large, landholder. But to me, it doesn't matter if I'm first or 15th. What I care about is the quality of the assets, and we're just getting going on some of our new assets. So you'll be hearing about us, on multiple fronts.
Right. That's why I was interested in this conversation. Okay, because people. In fact, I interviewed a CEO last week who said, "Well, with the Newfoundland narrative going on, it's going to be easy to go and raise capital, and with that capital, I can maybe do some drilling, and maybe I'll get lucky. I don't know. There's no certainty to it. There never is with mining. But at the same time, he was really clear. I'm playing the market, and there's a way to play the market, and timing is everything. And yeah, at some point I'm going to have to deliver. I don't know if I can do that, but maybe I can. I'll certainly have the money to be able to try." You're saying to me, it's a more fundamental story. It's like, I think I know where the good stuff is, and I think I know what good looks like, and I think I understand some of these faults and some of these trends, and I'm going to pick up the right stuff. So there's a little bit more confidence to what you're saying, and it's not a market game. And maybe that's not. Maybe that's part of the upside, or maybe part of the downside, in the sense that you've got to play both sides. You've got to play the market a little bit, and you've also got to deliver. So, I mean, how do you position yourselves? Do you think that as explorers and geologists, you just want to do things the right way, or are you cognizant that the market also needs to be understood?
Well, clearly, Newfound have done a wonderful job. I mean, they tied up a very nice package of ground. They've marketed it, exquisitely, right, sort of thing. But you know what? We were here before them. Eric Sprott, and I'm not saying we were his very first, because I don't know what was going on, with him before, he met us. But, we brought Eric Sprott to Newfoundland. Moosehead was known long before Keats became what it is right now. So, we've been there. We've done that thing, and we put our nose to the grindstone and said, okay, here we go. This is our opportunity. Let's take this thing, because I really believe this project has potential, to be more than just an exploration play. We've continued to deliver, substantial results. I mean, if you look at recent drill intercepts for the province, and someone recently sent me a short spreadsheet showing the top 100 drill holes. Of the 20 top drill holes, 17 of them belong to us and Newfound. I forget what the score is. Maybe they're 10-7 or something like that. But you know what? We've been there, so we've got the goods. Maybe and this would probably be on me, where I'm a geologist. Maybe a geologist is not the best person to run an exploration company. But we're an exploration company, so maybe I should be. But you know what? The marketing is getting there. We've increased our budget for that tremendously, and and guess what? We're at all-time highs. I'd like to stay there. I do believe we're still undervalued when you look at some of our peers and what they've got in their basket and what we've got in our basket. Sometimes it doesn't make sense, but you know what? It's an area play, and these things happen, right? And you know what? If they all get money and they're able to, at least make an attempt to get what we have and what we've found and what we've delivered, well, then they probably deserve to be there. But, I still think, there's room for us to, be a little bigger in terms of market cap. Yes. But you know what? I used to lose a lot of sleep over that. I used to get a lot of emails and things like that. But you know what? I know what my job is to keep delivering results, and ignore, the chaff, just go for the wheat, and, it's my job, explore.
Okay, so you said earlier, asked the question rhetorically, I assume. Do you want to be a sheep? Do you want to, follow the storyline that's out there at the moment? No, I don't. I want to, because I'm not confident about being able to play or game the market in terms of work out where someone's going to get to before, in your words, has to deliver. I want, good, strong fundamentals here. So, I do buy what you're saying on that front. So let's talk about some of the things that you were doing, because you like you mentioned, with Moosehead, it looked like a one-trick pony, but you've gone and done this deal with Benson now, which gives you some good optionality. So you've got a couple of projects there, but you've also optioned out one of your other projects, Crippleback, I think, as well. So you're starting to look at the portfolio. You're understanding that you need to do that.
Yes, that's right. Well, we've actually done 2 deals in the past couple of months for a couple of our projects that we've basically had before. Well, we had them before Moosehead, so I mean, they were acquired at a good time when real estate was a lot cheaper, and we were able to get good projects. Both East Alder, which we've optioned to Pantera, and Crippleback, to TransCanada Gold, both lie on the same structure that we're on with Marathon. So I mean, that's the first major box for me is where is it in terms of structure? You have to be on a structure. You're not going to get gold in rocks that doesn't have structure unless you want to be a placer miner, which we haven't figured that out here yet. But so we have to be balanced, and they were not. It's too bad because, Moosehead obviously had to be our focus, because of the history and the results we've given. These are earlier projects and we weren't really doing them justice, and in this market, if you can get quality partners, to advance these projects, to the betterment, of our shareholders, we get the benefit of enjoying, them succeed as well. So I mean, it's not a loss for us. In fact, I think it's a win for us. I mean, it allows us even a sharper focus, on our obviously our flagship, but as well some of our more district scale things. And East Alder and Crippleback were not district scale projects. They're smaller. And whereas Golden Hope is like 3,000 claims. I mean, that's a district. Fleur de Lis, which is another different beast entirely. I mean, we're chasing the biggest gold deposits in what I call the Fleur de Lis trend is actually over in Ireland. It's a 6 million ounce gold deposit called Kernalt. And, those rocks are identical. I've been there. I've seen this. I've seen these rocks. So, I mean, I know what I speak of. I can cherry pick with the best of them, but I can back it up, right? With experience. So, so we've, it's always a balance, well, did you give the farm away with these 2 projects? I don't know, but you know what? We'll still benefit from it, through a shareholding and a royalty and, obviously hungry partners.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about exploration for a second, if you don't mind. So I'm buying the sort of fundamentals component of the story, right? You're trying to do things the right way. So with regards to how now you've got cash, you got some options, you got some choices about how you spend that cash and the way that you go about your drilling. So, how are you going to go about that drilling? Because again, we've seen some stories, in Newfoundland, and perhaps they've hit, like you've hit some very high grade results, and they're doing some very small step outs. They're just being like, I don't know what you would call that, but but it's working. The reaction in the market's been really, really strong to that. How are you going to go about it?
Well, I mean, we'll do the traditional, boot and hammer sort of stuff. These projects clearly are still in early stages, and I'm referring to projects outside of Moosehead, our Fleur de Lis. In fact, we're just beginning work on Fleur de Lis this week. We're going to do a wall-to-wall till sampling program, which has worked, fantastically for all players in this province. Tills seem to be the go-to geochemical tool when it comes to, defining targets for trenching or drilling or whatever. And so we're going to compile these projects because some of them have quite a bit of history. In fact, Golden Hope, which is a project we staked along trend from a past producing mine, and that was also something I looked at on the map and I said, here's a deposit with past production history and resources of over 1 million ounces, and it's wide open for staking. The fault that one sits on is basically the guts of our Golden Hope project, and it was available for staking. We staked it, for $200K. We have a quality project. That if this piece of dirt was in Ontario or Quebec or anywhere else, there'd be hundreds of drill holes on it. You know how many drill holes are on that? None, not one. Just kilometers from a past producing mine. So even with that staring you in the face, I mean, people just never thought, oh, that's just a one-off sort of thing, and that's why, like I said, the rush to central Newfoundland, yes, was fine. I mean, but, there are other districts with proven histories. In fact, everybody seems to forget that currently, right now, all of the gold production in Newfoundland comes from the Bay Verte Peninsula, not central Newfoundland. So there's just you just look at all of those simple little facts, and you're saying, well, you don't need to be in central Newfoundland. We have probably the second best project in central Newfoundland, I'll dare say, with Moosehead. So I mean, we're fine with that. We also have, it ties up about 8 kilometers of the fault structure that you need to be on. We've really only drilled a quarter of that, 2 kilometers, with visible gold at each end of that 2 kilometers. So, we still have a lot of work to do here. And yeah, did we pass opportunities by, for other packages of ground? Well, I'd rather have 8 kilometers of what I got than, 50 kilometers of some of the other stuff, over the hill, we'll call it.
But tell me, you got $15 million. So how are you going to deploy that capital? I get the low G&A, et cetera, and the low cost that you've had historically, but you kind of got to advance this as quickly as possible, and it's also as makes sense for you to do. So I'm intrigued, not just the where, but the how. You've talked about maybe you'll have 3 drill bits going at some point, and you want them turning as many hours of the day as possible, again, at some point. But how in your head are you seeing that being allocated? Where are the drills going? How do you plan
Moosehead,
it?
you mean?
Yeah, how are you planning it? Yeah.
Okay. Well, as I mentioned, in 2018, we started Moosehead with just one zone of mineralization. And for those not familiar with the project, and any of your listeners, that was what we now call the Western Trend. And it's basically where, the predecessor companies had defined, a significant number of high-grade hits, but just couldn't sort of tie it all together. So we basically lumped that into what we call the Western Trend. And it was called the Western Trend because when we first arrived at Moosehead, we drilled a hole on the east side of the Western Trend, and the rest is history, sort of thing. 11.9 meters of 45 grams. So we still have 4 additional zones of mineralization that's open. So the plan is to basically step these things out in a responsible way, because as we've seen in the past, and not just at Moosehead, but as well on Queensway and other projects in Newfoundland, the habit seemed to be, find something, find a showing, drill a hole underneath it, and if you got great results, great, and you step out 50 or 100 meters, sort of thing, and these systems, as we're now learning, and we always learn with every drill hole, we learn. Geology is not an exact science. It evolves, and that's one of the things I love about this business. You learn with every hole. So, you have to drill these things, on a tighter basis. And, that's what seems to be, the plan for everyone moving forward, is to define these high grade, zones, as tightly as you can, because you can lose them as quickly as you can pick them up. So what are we going to do? We're going to basically expand, in a responsible way, all of the known zones we have. But as well, we're going to have a drill roving around, I call it the rover, to test other areas of the 8 kilometers, as I mentioned earlier, of the property that we really haven't tested yet, that have signs either through geochemistry or just projecting mineralization along trend. And in fact, last week our prospectors came back basically within an area that we've drilled with float that we can't place in an area that's been currently tested, and the assays are outstanding on that. This is something that's forthcoming, but we may have found float that's attributable to another zone, yet another zone. So I mean, are we going to make more discoveries at Moosehead? Yes, we will. We may even make them in the process of defining like the Eastern Trend and Footwall Splay. I mean, these are 2 zones that basically have a relationship like this, right? So, you can't, it's hard to drill 2 of them at the same time, with a focus. It's complicated. And, I think people have to realize that, that you're going to drill holes, and get surprises. You're going to drill holes and get disappointments. But, I'm pretty confident that at the end of the year, with 40 or 50,000 meters in the bag, that we'll have expanded all of our zones, and I would dare say at least a couple of new discoveries.
Brilliant. Tim, I've enjoyed that. It was a good conversation. You've got to come back on. Let us know how you're getting on, especially with all this drilling happening. You've got to deliver what you think you're going to be capable of delivering.
Yeah, I mean, right now, we're about a third of the way through. We've drilled probably 15,000 meters in phase 6 of 50,000 meters, and again, as I mentioned, phase 6 started as 10,000 meters. It got bumped up to 20. It got bumped up to 50. Phase 6 may go on for years, which, I'd like to see happen, but, and maybe we should just stop numbering them, and just call them ongoing XXX meter program, right? I'm pretty confident that, additional, home runs are going to be coming from this project because we've seen them. Every phase we've drilled, we'll get a couple of bonanza holes or more. And like I said, I'll stack our results up with the exception of a couple of holes. Yes, I'll give them that. Newfound have certainly hit some home runs. I mean, drill holes that I've never seen the like of in my career. And, they're rare. And, and the fact that, they're getting them and that, we've had some pretty damn good intersections ourselves, forgive me French there, but, when you're getting into the 200, 300, 500 gram meter intercepts, I mean, you're talking world-class intersections, and they just don't happen in isolation, Yes, there will be lower grade holes around it. There has to be. I mean, gold is famous for being nuggety and, inconsistent, and that's why these things have to be drilled off as carefully as they have been. And, one of our largest shareholders, in fact, told me, he said, you really need to drill this thing very tightly, right? And my experience in the past is drilling things tightly is 25 meters. Well, that doesn't work for these types of systems. You have to drill them even tighter than that. And I think, the recipe for success in Newfoundland is now, drill things at 10 to 15 meter step outs because, you run the risk of missing these things. I mean, these things can be very small in terms of their aerial extent, like the Swan Zone at Fosterville, 50 meters in strike length, 5 to 15 meters in thickness. But, they have a plunge that, and unless you can figure out that plunge, you can drill all the holes you want around it, until you get that figured out, you're going to miss it. And, I don't want to miss it, right? It was missed in the past at Moosehead. There's, like I said, there was over 100 drill holes at Moosehead before we came along, but, there was only one known zone of mineralization. Now we have 5. So, we learned from what they did, yes, which always helps. I mean, even the Keat Zone, the Keat Zone had a drill hole in it, from the 80s, it's just that the thing was ground to death and you had a 10% core recovery. And, so it was seemed to be a skinny intersection, You take your time, good drillers and, you get the good core recovery. Look what they have, right? And, I've seen the core, I haven't been on the property, but, I've seen their core and, you can put Moosehead and Queensway, side by side and you would not know the difference. And in fact, at the last PDAC that you could actually physically attend, Kirkland Lake Gold had a core display from Fosterville. I brought over my box of core from Moosehead, laid it down on their table, and they just looked at each other and said, "You took that from our core building, didn't you?" I mean, these comparisons are real. So I mean, we're and obviously, you don't have to have a model, but it's nice to have a model. But when you have a model, that's the gem of gems in terms of gold deposits. Knowing how structurally complex. In fact, Fosterville, I've visited Fosterville. It was a nothing mine when I was there, 15 years ago. And, sometimes it takes a while, to figure out these things and find the sweet spots. And, Swan was only found in the past couple of years. So, I mean, I'd like to think that an exploration project, shouldn't be, killed, with a couple of low grade or blank holes. You have to have patience and persistence. And, if anything, you won't get this project from me very easily, until I've tested it thoroughly.
Tim, appreciate your time today. Thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you, Matthew. Pleasure.